for joining us. I'm Gigi Stone Woods. We are learning more about the two men who opened fire last night outside a controversial art contest near Dallas. The FBI has identified them as Elton Simpson and Nadir Sufi. The agency says that Simpson was once at the center of a terror investigation. The FBI says the two men were roommates. Simpson and Sufi were killed by an officer last night outside of a venue that was hosting a contest for Prophet Muhammad cartoons. Officials are executing a search warrant at the suspect's apartment to find clues that may shed light on a motive. Paula Reid joins us now from Washington. Paula, what do we know about this suspect so far? We do know Elliot Simpson was at the center of an FBI investigation.
Yes, Elton Simpson came to the attention of law enforcement back in 2006. He was associated with what was believed to be a budding terror cell in Arizona. At that time, an undercover informant recorded conversations with Simpson where he discussed how he wanted to travel to Somalia to conduct jihad. Now, you remember this is back in 2006, 2007, 2008, when there was heightened conflict in Somalia. He wanted to go there to practice his jihad. Now, eventually, he was convicted of lying to federal officials about his plans to travel to Somalia and conduct jihad. And the court documents indicate that Mr. Simpson was born here in the United States, that he moved to Phoenix, and he converted to the Muslim religion at a very young age.
And were the officials continuing to monitor him after that investigation? How closely do they track these kinds of individuals, and what can they do?
Well, sources tell CBS News that this individual, Mr. Simpson, remained on law enforcement's radar after his probation was up last year and during the time he was on probation. They were aware of his social media postings, but they tell me there was no indication that he was plotting acts of violence, as we saw yesterday. In terms of how closely they monitor, monitoring an individual requires a lot of resources, a lot of manpower to monitor someone full time. So each individual needs to be assessed in terms of the threat that they present, and then law enforcement can monitor them or just keep them on the radar accordingly. But monitoring someone's social media postings, legally speaking, it's not a very high bar. You or I could keep an eye on his social media postings, so it's pretty easy to do.
And there were reports that he was even tweeting out about this attack with the hashtag Texas attack. Is that confirmed?
I have not confirmed that. No, that's not in the legal documents.
Since the rise of ISIS, Paula, there have been a lot of concerns about these radicalized individuals planning attacks, these so-called lone wolves. And that's so much harder for law enforcement to track than organizations. So how do they combat this effort?
It's incredibly difficult, and every law enforcement official will tell you this is one of their #1 priorities. Lone actors are so difficult to identify, and again, like I said, it requires a lot of resources to actually monitor all of these individuals. So the Department of Justice is starting with a lot of programs, grassroots programs, going into local communities, working with young men they think may be at risk, or young women who could potentially be radicalized, particularly with how adept ISIS is at sending out social media propaganda and sort of targeting individuals who may feel isolated from society and could be vulnerable to their message. So they start at the grassroots, then they monitor individuals, and they're very aggressive about using all of the laws at their disposal, including material support laws, which allow them to arrest and charge individuals even before they have conducted acts of terror.
Paula, where do we go from here? What comes next in the investigation?
Well, since the two individuals are no longer here, they'll probably want to know if they have any associates that are and are conducting other terror attacks. Continue to monitor those individuals, or potentially, if they were in any way involved in this situation, pursue charges possibly.
Another chilling case on U.S. soil. Paula Reid, thanks.
Thank you.